Yeah, so I've been at this 32 years to date myself a bit. A couple months ago it was 32 years. So I'll give you kind of 10,000 foot view and you might know better what your audience might want to go back to. But I started building homes in the early 90s. I had a brokerage, put my brokerage hat on. I was a realtor, never did that. Sold to co-op banker in 2000. And then through 2000 up to the crash, I was doing my own properties and I was coaching people around the United States and Canada. But the crash just beat me up in every way. I had 23 properties that I had signed personally guaranteed loans on, which I don't do anymore. We'll talk about that. But they all obviously came knocking on my door. Their job, these lovely bankers that we all love. That caused me to look elsewhere, frankly.
What's up, family? Thank you for tuning in to the DreamNation podcast. My name is Casanova. I'll be your host, and I'm excited to be bringing to you entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and trailblazers from around the world. Stay locked in with us because we're about to go on a journey that will change your life.
What's up, Dream Nation? We are back with another episode. And if you guys don't remember, we had my buddy, Mr. Chris Prefontaine, on the show. This was about a year and a half ago? We had you on the show, Chris?
Time flies then. I didn't think it was that long, but it could have been.
Yes, obviously a lot has changed in the real estate market, right? The interest rates have went up. A lot of people are still getting into real estate from an investing side, but they're needing to now figure out how do they do it from a more creative way, because the traditional ways have started to die out a little bit. So that's what I'm excited to dive into on this episode. And so for anybody who is not familiar, when you first came around, talk about your background in real estate and how you've gotten to this point now of turning your real estate dreams into definitely a reality.
Yeah, so I've been at this 32 years to date myself a bit. A couple months ago it was 32 years. So I'll give you kind of 10,000 foot view and you might know better what your audience might want to go back to. But I started building homes in the early 90s. I had a brokerage, put my brokerage hat on. I was a realtor, never did that. Sold to co-op banker in 2000. And then through 2000 up to the crash, I was doing my own properties and I was coaching people around the United States and Canada. But the crash just beat me up in every way. I had 23 properties that I had signed personally guaranteed loans on, which I don't do anymore. We'll talk about that. But they all obviously came knocking on my door. They did their job, these lovely bankers that we all love. That caused me to look elsewhere, frankly. And so when I came out of the crash, I said, what are going to be the rules we operate on? Because that didn't work. That was ugly. The rules were, we can talk about today, the rules were, let's develop some strategies that it doesn't matter what the market's doing, it doesn't matter what the interest rates are doing, and let's develop strategies that don't require banks and personal signing. Because again, that caused a lot of headaches. Out of that was spawned what we do now. And I say we have a family company. We operate in the New England area, so in and around, let's just say Boston for people's familiarity. And it's myself, my son-in-law, my son, and a great team. And when we buy properties, we then go teach the exact same thing with the wicked smart community of students. They're all over North America, most of the United States, and we do deals with them in the trenches. That's a difference from what we do from other people. We're actually getting deals done, not, hey, here's a program.
Yeah, no, I love it. So let's talk about, because 2008, obviously, for anybody who made it through that, they learned a lot of things. Like you said, you cut your teeth through that. So talk about what is the strategy. First off, how do you think that the market now compares? Do you think that we're about to go into some type of a crash or any type of a recession in terms of real estate? What does that look like in your eyes?
The reason I hesitate to answer that is you and I don't know, and the billionaires don't know. They might tell you they do because it's good news, but they don't know, right? And you get an election coming, you have interest rates where everybody's panicking, but they're only about the 50-year average right now. And the sevens is 50-year average ballpark, right? So I don't know. What I do know is this. I could labor over trying to figure out what it's going to do, or I could get really good at doing deals in any market. I choose the latter.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm telling you that 2024, I can say this with predictability, is historic for creative real estate because of everything going on, because of uncertainty, because the sellers need a guide, because the buyers need a guide. It's going to be historic. So it's a great positioning time to be in creative real estate. That I'm super focused on.
I love it. So let's talk about how does someone get started in creative real estate, right? Because for a lot of our people, they've done traditional real estate, right? So they went to the banks and they've gotten out a line of credit. They've used that, or they maybe even just used some credit cards or something like that. But in terms of getting creative real estate now, if a bank is tightening up their loan limits and what they're looking for, they're no longer giving 80%. Maybe now they're at 65 to 70% loan to value. How does somebody start really opening up their idea or their mindset to creative real estate investing?
Okay, so step one, understand that it is the root, because you're not going to stress over all these things you're not just threw out there. So once you go, okay, I'll learn it. I'm not so naive to think we're the only ones that teach it. I know we're not. But I will tell you this, here's a formula, and I may have said this on your show before, but it's worth going over. Whether it's us or not, find someone in the industry. Let's assume the niche is you guys all buy into, creative real estate. Okay, so that's step one. We pick the niche. Step two, find someone in the niche that you can relate to. Now, what do I mean by relate? Morally, ethically, business practices, how they live their life, everything. If you can relate to that person or community, then third is put the blinders on. Put the blinders on for at least 3 years and don't deviate from the niche. So many people run to the next thing, run to the next thing, run to the next thing. I spoke to a student yesterday, Casanova, you'll like this. He used to be in our community. He would never listen. He'd always go, I gotta go take this land course, and I gotta go take this mobile home course. Never stay with anything. So yesterday, out of the blue, I wished him happy holiday. We talked yesterday, and he said, I'm broke. I'm dead broke. I said, I won't even say his first name. I said, if you would stick with something for more than 3 months, you may have some success. I was really blunt because he needed to hear it. He literally was broke. And so I say that with the most love for the guy, because that's why I reached out to him. But if you're listening right now, please understand, you can make it in any niche. You really can. Even the tougher ones right now, like flipping and high interest rate, you can do it. But if you get yourself into a niche that's booming, like creative real estate, and pick someone to teach you the right way, you'll have a great experience. Oh, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm pretty sure about that. So I don't know if that was a long answer to your question, but I'm pretty certain with that.
Yeah, so you talked about a niche, and a niche can be looked at in a couple different ways, right? So you could look at it in traditional real estate, right? Or you could look at it in creative financing. But from what I hear you saying is you need to go deeper into another sub niche, because even if you're going to say, hey, I am open to creative financing, I need to figure out what is my lane. Do I want to do creative financing through mobile homes? Do I want to do it through single family? Do I want to do it through multifamily? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, you nailed it. Because they're all businesses, right? If you and I said, I got a text this morning from one of our students, he has his own podcast, I taught him how to do it, and he said, hey Chris, I had this really cool guy on mobile homes, would you want him on your show? I said, I think it's a distraction, even though I think it's a cool niche, because that's another whole business I gotta go set up. And how many can you actually do efficiently? Now, can you learn creative financing, like at the level, say that after this many years, or even my son-in-law, he's been with me since 15, I think it was, 2015. Could he now tack on to it things like mobile homes and things like that? Yeah, but not in the first 1 or 2 or 3 years. You're going to be distracted and never really get grounded with any one niche. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes 100% sense. So for anybody who's listening at this right now, they say, okay, I'm sold on it. I think I have 3 years. I have a 3-year runway. I at least have a 2-year runway, right? 24 months I can lock in on creative financing. So from that point on, how do I know what I want to sub niche down into, right?
Yeah.
Like, where do I start that process to understand who do I want to align with, and go learning 3 to 4 systems, that system that I should be looking for? What's the benchmarks that I should be looking for?
I'd go, and we're going to let your audience do this again. We did it last time. I'd go with the free for now. We're going to give everybody a free book. Why? Because of what you just said. I don't know if this is for them. I can tell you that I'm biased to it because I start everybody with single families. Why? I don't think people, regardless of the interest rates, are going to stop getting married and buying their first home. I just don't think that's going to happen for forever. I've said that since I built homes in the 90s. So I like that lane to start you off because it's predictable, but do it for free. In our case, get the free book at the end of the show. Go to YouTube. YouTube is so cool these days. You could go find people that do these deals all day long. We have, I don't know how many now, might be 250, 260 deals posted on YouTube, whiteboarded, showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you get to see if you like what we do. And there's other people who do the same thing. So go look at it for free, then decide who you want to latch onto and run.
I love it. I love it. Now, talk to me about, for somebody who says, hey, I have been in creative finance for a while, right? And now I'm looking to level up my game. After, let's say they have some single family deals, where should they be looking at to the next level? How do they level up from there?
You referenced earlier, like mobile homes, doesn't matter, but I personally like hand picking, and I'll give you an example, smaller multis that are free and clear. Literally, my daughter sat in a meeting years ago with us and said, hey, why don't we add some to our portfolio, not just the regular single families? We said, okay. So we did a mailing of not many, 275 pieces, bought a 6-unit, did it through my IRA. Said, oh, that was cool. Do it again, bought a 4-unit. What do we target? We targeted free and clear only, no mortgage, 4 to 10 units. That's all we targeted. Now, people say, why? Easy to manage, especially if you're new. I'm trying to speak to grab everyone here. And why free and clear? We structured on those deals, and on 99% of our deals, no interest, principal only. With few exceptions, there's no imputed interest. There are some exceptions. Over $1 million is one. But so that's the only reason I stay on the smaller side. But can you imagine in this market doing principal only? Rates just went up to 7, 8, commercial higher, and you're doing principal only? I think that's pretty cool.
It is, absolutely.
The other thing is, right now, the other method subject to existing financing, sub 2, right now, you could buy homes at 2, 3, and 4%. Right now. So how's 0 to 5% right now in this market? It's great. So why not learn how to do it?
I love it. I love it. Talk to me about, where are you finding these motivated sellers, right? Like, how do you teach your students if somebody was like, okay, I'm learning the free route. Is this all in the book? Or like, how do I get started to even just try to cut my teeth to see, if I get something there, then I can reach out to Chris. I can reach out to his team to say, hey, I did take the first step. I would love to join the community to figure out, how do I get this thing to the finish line? Yeah,
on our website is how open we are. There are all our resources we use. One of them is a lead source, and that lead source will feed you every day the newly expired listings that the realtors didn't sell, and that's happening on the rise right now. The for sale by owners, the for rent by owners, those are the 3 main lists. Then once you get going, if you say, look, I want more leads or my goals are bigger, then we teach you how to grab the niche list, like a free and clear list. The availability of lists right now, as data becomes more and more available, at least in US, you can't do this in Canada so easy. But in US, you can buy, hey, I want all properties that people purchased from 2018 to 21, because they probably have great rates, and I want them all to have 10% or less equity. Okay, you can go find those tomorrow. So there's all kinds of niche lists, but the 3 main ones you can get on a feed every day.
I love it. I love it. Now, for somebody who's listening at this and they say, hey, you know what? I understand creative financing, but at the same time, I know that there's some negatives, there's some drawbacks to it, right? What are the things that people should be looking out for, especially if they don't have a mentor? Because we notice some people are hard-headed and they want to go at it alone until they feel like they bumped their head against the wall enough that they feel like, hey, I need some coaching or I need a community. So what are those types of things that they should be looking out for, at least in the beginning, before they have that mentor that they're ready to lock in on?
Yeah, first of all, don't do that, because there's just too many people that have done it and you can learn from. But if you decide to do that, go that route, here's the deal. No order, but when you were saying that, attorneys screamed out at me, because there are attorneys that know creative and there are attorneys that will tell you can't do that. The same state. I called once in New Jersey for a student who was traveling. I said, I'll take care of it. I called 4 attorneys, 4, who adamantly told me you can't do this. And then I found one who's done thousands of them in that state. It's crazy. So you just got to have a good attorney on your team. That's key. Secondly, I would be very careful in creative real estate with your agreements, but then that kind of follows the attorney thing, right? In our main sort of academy, Casanova, we have all the agreements we've ever used, and they've been tweaked over the years, right? Because we might run into a problem with lead paint or run into a problem with mold or whatever. Tweak the agreement, get it back in the academy, tell the students, hey, we just updated that. So we're in the trenches, and because of that, we can update stuff like that on the fly. So just be careful with your forms and your legal. I know that's the boring stuff, but you can get yourself in trouble. Quick story, there's a couple that comes to almost every event we have. And we do 2 live ones a year again. And they come, and they know I'm going to do this. They bring their deals, and they let me whiteboard them on stage. And I show them how much money they left on the table. And the wife wants to join the community, and the husband said, no, we do it ourselves. It's just what you're saying. He's just stubborn. But they're leaving per deal anywhere from 10 to 50,000 on the table, because our deals are pretty lucrative. Every time they bring one, I find it. And so that's why you want to attach to a community or a mentor or someone you can relate with.
I love it. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty, right? And let's say if I'm going after any of these deals, obviously I want motivated sellers, right? I want somebody, or I guess you tell me, like, what should I be looking for? Should I only be looking for somebody who has an expired listing or foreclosure or something like that? Or where's the first step that I should be looking at? And then I would like to get into, well, how do those conversations go?
I would start every new person, and I have for 10 years, with those expireds for rent by owner and for sale by owner to get their feet wet. Conversation with every seller, however, if they take this and leave the show and go try this, they'll have some success. When you're talking to anyone, treat it like you and I are neighbors, and I see your sign go up and I go, hey, Casanova, why are you selling? You'll tell me why. I'll know your motivation. Oh yeah, where you going? Oh cool, how soon do you need to be there? Just normal conversation. And what if it doesn't sell? What's your plan B? That's the conversation. Because that just told me, were you motivated or are you just tinkering? Is there an end date that you have to be there by, more motivation, or are you just seeing what you can do and you don't really care, it's a second home? All that tells me everything. If they're motivated and my creative path, meaning wait for your money, works for you, we have a nice relationship. If it doesn't, example where it wouldn't, hey, I have kids and we're going over to that neighborhood, we have to for school system and I need the cash to go do that. Okay, I'm not your buyer. But what's your plan B? I can do this. They have a plan, fine. My plan B is I'm screwed, I would do your thing. Okay, great, let me know if you don't sell. So you just have a normal conversation. Where you going, buy when, what if it doesn't sell, and why?
Gosh, I love it. But it sounds like then for you, there's a lot on the back end as far as your follow-up and your systems go, right? Because if you say, okay, if it doesn't sell, that could be 1 month, 3 months, right? 5 months down the line. How often are you staying in touch with these people?
I would say it depends on motivation, right? Because when I get off a call with you and you're the seller, depending on how motivated you are, I'm going to ask you when is the best to follow up. We're going to have that agreement. Don't bug me for a week. Call me Sunday, I'm screwed. Whatever. So we're going to know. People say, when do you follow up? Ask them. They'll tell you when you should follow up. This is not brain science. That's it. But yes, some follow-up is a week and some follow-up, I'll get a call 2.5 years later. I've been at this long enough, 3 years later. Hey, my mother said you called, or hey, my grandfather had your letter, or whatever, and that we buy their home. So yeah, this is long-term plan here.
Yeah, no, I love it when you just say, keep it simple. That's what I hear every single way. It's like, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Wait to hear their response and they'll tell you what they want. Now, you are a straight shooter, which is what we talked about. That I've known that about you since the first time we had a conversation. How much of the AI voice drops, the text messages, how much of that are you implementing in your system? Is it a, hey, but this is where the market's going, so you have to adapt or you're going to get left behind? Or are you still a, nope, I tell every single one of my students, just pick up the phone yourself, because that's where you're going to have some success in the beginning. Don't worry about building out these systems and automated systems. What does that look like for you, and how do you educate your students when they're
This is good. Yeah, I'm smiling because on my desk, I'm still old school. This is my complete file of who I'm going to be calling in the next week, okay? But I'm not naive. So to answer your question, I rely on the community now because they are in the trenches better. Like we have 5 coaches who all came to the community with no experience, who have all left their jobs since then, who all coach and do deals. So their fingers on the pulse. So if I'm talking yesterday on the way home from Vermont, I'm talking to all my higher level students, 4 hours worth of calls, just killing time. And one of them said, what do I do with this CRM and batching this? I said, her name was Jessica. I said, Jessica, call my son-in-law, Zach. He did that when he came in with me originally, and he'll tell you exactly how to do it. I'm not going to waste time, but I'm not going to try to say to them, don't do that. No. If they're a techie person and they can handle it, I put them in touch with someone in the community who can handle it. If they're not, I could care less about the tech. I say, then do what I did. Just dial. Here's your folder system, 1 through 31, basic. But it just depends on them. You know, some people I call them engineer brains. They just get the tech. They'll create a spreadsheet to go to the bathroom. Like that person needs the CRM, but other people, it slows them way down. I have a woman in Maine who says, it takes me all day to do that. Okay, then don't. You have a phone, the rectangle in your hand, and you have a lead sheet, call it. That's it. So it just depends on the person.
I love it. Now, for a lot of people, if you're reading any reports about real estate, obviously it doesn't take very long for it to come up about retail real estate in the commercial world. And I know that you guys focus on single family. Find a lot of your students that are coming and saying, hey, I feel like I want to jump into the commercial world because I feel like I could find some opportunity there. And if you do, are you helping students that way? Or are you saying, hey, that's not our niche, right? So I'm going to refer you to another community or, some people who I know that focus on commercial. Do you think that someone, I guess is what I'm asking, do you think that somebody can be successful in your community in commercial? Because as long as you had a finance, you could do that? Or is it like, no, you still want to be aligned in that sub niche and go find some people who only focus on commercial?
No, they can be successful in the community for sure. It would be more, if they said that, I'd say we have levels in our community. I coach the highest level. I'd want them with me so they can have the experience. But as long as they learn the techniques, look, this building, I told you this in your last show, this building I bought, and on your show, I still owned it. In September, just 2-3 months ago, I sold it for, $750,000 profit because it was too good to not sell. I bought this owner financing from a free and clear owner. It's a mixed use building. So yes, you could do it all day long. I just need to know your game plan. We have a student in Chicago who said, day one, my biggest goal is I want to find myself an office building like you did, Chris, but a lot bigger. I said, okay, I'll help you do it. So you can do this in any niche.
I love it.
You can do the same lead gen.
I love it. Where do you see the students in 2023? You've been in this game for a very long time. Is it all still the same thing? Like it's just the principles if they're willing to pick up the phone, or where do you see a lot of people are struggling in this last 12 months when they're getting started in creative financing, even though they've joined your program and they have that mentorship and community? Where are people still hitting roadblocks that you're trying to help them through?
I don't think it's changed, honestly. I think the mismanaged expectations continues to be very frustrating for us as coaches and company, because unfortunately, there are a lot of marketers out there on Facebook and other who flood you with get rich quick tomorrow. They do. We don't. Like I tell you, it's going to be a process, but they come with that, and they come sometimes too late with, I already tried 3 things. I didn't do a deal yet. It doesn't work. It's me. No. So there's a whole mental game and a mismanaging of expectations. If you do what you and I talked about earlier and give yourself time, you won't beat yourself up. We'll tell you, we obsess over this. What's the time to first deal? Everyone wants to know, how quickly can I do it? Our metric says it's about 147 days right now, counting every student, the good, the bad, the aggressive. Do some people do a deal in 30? Yep. Do some people take 15 months? The latest one, he's right in Boston. Yes. But that's not about the skill set. That's about the whole mental game of coming into this. They got baggage like I did after the crash, or they have a divorce, or whatever. You could take time, so you can't beat yourself up. So that was a long way of saying it's mismanaging your expectations of what you can and should do.
I love it. I love it. This has been, again, a phenomenal episode. I think the thing that I love about having you on the show is you're such a straight shooter, like I said, and it's just getting right to the point where it's no fluff at all. I think a lot of people are great storytellers, but it takes a very long time to get there. Whereas for you, you could tell that story in literally 30 seconds and get right to the point by second 45.
And I talk fast, so they can't put it on like the 1.25 speed for the podcast. I'm already at like 2.1.
I love it. So going into 2024, if we can leave anybody with anything, going into 2024, they're thinking about, hey man, this is my year, I'm going to get into real estate, and now I'm sold on creative real estate. Obviously they know that your community's there, and we're going to make sure that we put all of the links in the show notes. But I guess for me, what I want to ask you is, what's the first thing that they should be doing going into 2024 over these next 4 weeks to prep themselves to have the best year possible when it comes to creative financing?
We talked about earlier, pick someone, but I would say, I don't know when this is going to air, right? But I would say now is your time no matter what, because I know as a listener, because I've been there, you probably, perhaps, maybe in a December in the past said, this is it. This is my year. And now I'll ask you to think about the listener, go back 3 Decembers. Are you where you thought you'd be? And if you're not, when would now be a really good time to get after it and put that behind you? Really, because we've all done it.
Right.
Number one. Number two, have an accountability partner, whether it's in the community like we do, or whether it's a friend or someone that you can trust, an attorney, I don't care. But have an accountability partner that you'll give permission to hold you accountable to your goals. Because then you can't get off track. If you're working with me and you go, here's my goals, Chris, we're going to check in every month, we're going to check in nightly for some of them, and you're off track and you gave me permission to tell you, you're not getting off track unless you quit the whole program, right? You leave and I can't talk to you. So I know it's not a skill set or like a technical answer, but I'm telling you, that's the answer. Get started now and have an accountability partner to keep you there.
There you have it. For anybody who, we're going to make sure, like I said, we put all the links in the show notes, but for anybody who wants to stay directly connected with you, tell us, where can they find you at?
I'll give you my personal email. I'll always qualify it. My team doesn't love when I do this, but I'll always qualify it with just, if you're serious and committed, I'll talk to you, especially with the new year here. Chris, CHRIS, at smartrealestatecoach.com. Just put the DreamNation or something in the subject line so I know, and I'll answer you. Yes, it's me answering you, and we'll have a chat. If you want a strategy call, you can go to smartrealestatecoach.com/action. Any one of those. You can find me if you want to find me. I don't hide, so it's not hard. The free book link, just to say it verbally, is wickedsmartbooks.com/DNP, the numeric number 1.
Love it. I love it. There you have it, Dream Builder. Again, if you haven't listened to the first episode, it was super action-packed as well. So go back, listen to that episode. I believe it was episode 146. But we'll check on that one, but I believe that's what it was. But anyway, like I said, Chris is always a wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate you. I want to be the first one, if no one else has told you today, to say thank you. And again, I appreciate you. So remember, Dream Builder, you got to take action on something. We're just wrapping up 2023. Depending on when you listen, or this could be your time, this could be your message if you're looking for a signal. But without any action, that dream that you have, and we all have a dream, it'll only merely be a fantasy. So that's all for this one. We'll catch you on the next one.
That's all we got for this episode. Thank you for sticking around. That truly means a lot to me, and hopefully that means that we delivered massive value on this one. If you haven't already, the way that you could say thank you to myself and the team is just by heading over to iTunes and leaving a review and a rating. That's what iTunes loves to see. That's how we get out there even more, and I would definitely be grateful for it. I know the team would as well. Do me a favor and head on over to DreamNationPodcast.com. That's where you're going to be able to find all of the resources that we talked about in today's episode, as well as more exclusive content. And you'll also be able to sign up to our email list where we have more exclusive content. And we always love to hear the feedback from you all because you're our tribe. So remember, in the dream we trust, we'll see you on the flip side.